What's going on, people? Welcome to United View. How is everyone doing today? Of course, it is the anniversary of the Munich air disaster and the day where we commemorate the Busby Babes and we remember the loss that this club suffered. We remember what it is, the foundations of which we were built. I'm joined with James today for today's video. It's a massive day in the history of the club, isn't it? And a really poignant moment, and it's a tragedy that obviously rocked the world of football at the time. But in terms of what it means at Manchester United and how our club was subsequently built on after that, it's fair to say it had such a lasting effect out of that tragedy of what came from it, though, into what we know as Manchester United today.
Yeah, hi mate. Yeah, to be honest, it's the most important day in the history of the football club, and it's the day that every year I sit back, I remember, and I think about what players have gone through, what fans have gone through, what families have gone through, and what makes this football club different to every single other football club on the planet. And that is the tragedy that we went through and that we've come through, and now we live in remembrance of. So yeah, important day, and look forward to reminiscing about it today.
Yeah, I mean, you on a personal, James, which is why we really wanted to do this today. I mean, you on a personal have a distant relative or an extended family member, you were saying, who's been involved in the crash. Could you just explain a little bit to the viewers why it's so kind of poignant to you as a personal, and then obviously we'll talk about it as more as a football club.
Yeah, so just growing up in Manchester, I was always going to have a connection to the football club. It's my local football club. Football was a bit different back then, and you were more connected to the players. They were part of the community and stuff. From a personal point of view, like, it's not a very close relative to me, but my nana, who I was obviously really close to, her cousin on her mother's side, so her mother's sister's son, was a player called Albert Scanlon. He was a left winger for Manchester United. He was signed in like 1953, came up through the youth setup, and he was actually on the plane in 1958 and survived the crash and died about 13 years ago now. So yeah, very poignant for me. I have a very close connection with it all, but that just enforces with me the importance of it in the history of the football club and what makes Manchester United so great.
Yeah, it does. And I went out to Munich for the 60th anniversary. Went to the crash site and went to where it happened and looked at the memorial site, and it was unbelievable. And I remember feeling like a sense of eeriness about it, like standing in the field where the plane didn't manage to make it off the runway in the snow. And I remember having that feeling of just like eeriness to feel like players died. I mean, you said it in the game after Middlesbrough, and I know after circumstances of coming out the cup, it was more poignant in the way it came out. But the passion I heard you speaking about, and it's like players died in and of Manchester United, and actually that's the sad part. But actually, let's look at what the Busby Babes were and what they were tipped to be, because you have these kind of sayings of this team would have went on to be this, or this player would have went on to be this. Duncan Edwards would have been that, but with the Busby Babes, they were making waves under Sir Matt Busby, and they were highly tipped to be one of the greatest football teams of this generation, and they were literally gone.
Yeah, ever, mate. Like one of the greatest football teams ever, not just of their generation. Like, it starts off with, well, Sir Matt Busby, but Matt Busby at the time, right? Like, so he actually played for two of our rivals. He played for Liverpool and he played for City. But he took over us after the war, so in October 1945. He became manager of Manchester United and managed us until 1969, and then came back for half a season later on. But fantastic coach, left a dynasty, and is in the discussion for one of the greatest managers of all time for the imprint he left on not just Manchester United, but football in general, right? So when you talk about that team, it wasn't just one team. We talk about the Babes, but then there was there was the team before the crash, and then the team was obviously decimated during the crash. And then there's the greatest story that's ever told in football, where you've rebuilt a team and 10 years later you're lifting the biggest trophy of them all, right? So overcoming adversity in the face of all kind of destruction and demolition is what Manchester United are all about. And that that team was something special, mate. Obviously, I'm not old enough to have witnessed
Yeah,
it
of course,
in the flesh, but I've been told many stories. I've seen many clips, and yeah, some of the football they play. And really, I think at the time there was only like 2 really major signings. They had a keeper in Harry Gregg and a striker in Tommy Taylor. And aside from that, the rest of the players were from the youth setup. So that's what people don't get sometimes. I think when people look nowadays and they see like me giving a free pass to some of the lads from Manchester or something like that, or, you know, giving Rashford a bit more of a pass or Lingard a bit more of a pass, it's like, it's not that I want to give them more of a pass. It's just how I understand the history of Manchester United Football Club is that it's built from within. It's not built on superstar signings. It's built from finding local talent, working with that local talent and turning them into the greatest there is.
Mm. And that's, you know, in terms of the Busby Babes, you know, these were young aspiring footballers who were working up the ladder, and we was one of the first trailblazers to do that. And actually, we were the first English team to play in Europe. You know, Chelsea weren't allowed to play in it the year before, and so Matt Busby was one of the trailblazers to say, if we want to be regarded as the best team in Europe, we need to play against the best. And he fought along with when I was reading up on it, and when I've always looked at this story in depth, along with the secretary of the FA, because the Football League were saying no, and the head of the FA, along with Samat, were fighting tooth and nail to get Manchester United into that competition, and we were the first ones to do it. And it just showed what he wanted for the football club. Yes, that was a trailblazing moment in terms of English football, because actually after that, you know, it was a pioneer moment in terms of other English clubs would then enter. But it showed what he wanted for Manchester United and what our very kind of intentions were in terms of being the best. Being the best football club, we need to play the most amount of competition we can against the best in Europe, and that's what he did.
Yeah, I mean, if we go back before, like, so pre-crash, and the team that he was building was phenomenal, right? They won the Division 1 Championship, which, if we equate that for people that don't know, that's the Premier League equivalent now, right? So they won the Division 1 Championship in 1956. They won it again in 1957, and in 1958 they were trying to win it for a 3rd time in a row, right? And around the time of February, obviously February the 6th being the crash date, I think they were about 4th in the league, but they were on a winning run. I think they'd lost 1 time in 13, 14 games, something like that.
Yeah.
So they were very much tipped to be on a run to potentially win back-to-back league titles. And they were tipped as the next big thing. They'd reached the semi-final of the European Cup the year before. So going into that season, they had very high expectations. They'd won the first leg against Belgrade, 2-1 at Old Trafford. They then went away to Belgrade, who were a very good team at the time, by the way. They were one of the powerhouses of Europe. Drew that game 3-3. So we were into the semi-finals of the European Cup. So we were on a run in the league. We're in the semi-final of the European Cup, and we were still in the FA Cup. So that was due to be a big season for Manchester United. And then obviously we'll come on to what happened next.
Yeah, and I think a real poignant figure that, you know, sometimes people don't realise is Jimmy Murphy. And, you know, Jimmy Murphy, the rebuild that he done, he didn't travel because he was managing the Welsh national team at the time.
Yeah.
But lost dear friends, players. Obviously, Samat was you know, in a bad way after the crash and needed to recover. And then you had Jimmy Murphy there, who'd lost these players, lost some staff, and in the aftermath of this tragedy, literally having to rebuild the football club. And at the time, you know, I think we had players from Blackpool. They gave us some players, Aston Villa, Liverpool. You know, players. You know, the football community really came together, and it was, you know, by all much we beat Sheffield Wednesday in the FA Cup, which was the next game. And I have, from a book that I always read around this time of the year to always kind of, you know, remember. There's a point where it talks about the program for the first game back against Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah.
And Harold Hardman, who was the chairman at the time, he says, although we mourn our dead and grieve our wounded, we believe that our great days are not done for us. The road back may be long and hard, but Manchester United will rise again. And it's like, you look at what the club turned into after that moment, you know, 10 years later, you talk about that, and you talk about the team that got rebuilt with, you know, Bobby Charlton obviously surviving the crash, and Dennis Law coming and Georgie Best, and, you know, that rebuild.
Yeah.
And then you're like, look at what the club actually went on to achieve after that. And those words couldn't have been more suited, you know?
Yeah. It's the greatest story ever told, mate. And first of all, we have to say thank you to other clubs at the time. Like you said, the football community came together, right? Like no one looked at United and was like, oh no, we don't want to help them out. Everyone came together to try and rebuild this great football club and be part of, like I said, the greatest story that's ever been told. So you have to say thank you for everyone else. And yet the rebuild after that is obviously the whole story, right? We brought in people like Dennis Law the following season. And you fast forward a few years, like we'll get back to different bits of the story, but you fast forward to 63 when we then win the FA Cup. We beat Leicester 3-1. We then sign and give Georgie Best his debut, and then all of a sudden we're then winning. We're winning the league later on in 66, was it? And then 65, and then winning the league in 67, and then 68 comes round.
It went on to win a hell of a lot, didn't it?
Oh, it was unbelievable, mate.
Built that team.
Yeah, just success after success. And like you said, Jimmy Murphy is a key point in that, right? So something popped up on my Facebook memories today, and I think it was the memorial 2 years ago. And Jimmy Murphy's son was the person leading the service. And he was telling loads of stories about his dad and how he came back from the Wales team and obviously took over for that season. And it's just really interesting to listen to people that have a personal connection to it all, because you can't underestimate the role of certain people in the story. So obviously people got injured, right? So I'll go back to my connection. My connection is Albert Scanlon in the crash. He had a fractured skull, he had a broken leg, and he had kidney damage. So not only did he play football again, he came back the next season. He played every single game and he scored 16 goals. Like ridiculous, absolute ridiculous recovery. You look at like Sir Matt Busby. He was done with football, right? He took about he was in hospital for about 2 months, and then he went off to Switzerland for his recovery. He was done with football. He was suffering from depression and all this. And you can't underestimate the role of his wife, Jean Busby.
Absolutely, right? Those quotes that she said to him.
Oh, the quotes are phenomenal, mate. You look at the great managers in our history, Sir Alex Ferguson, and the inspiration that Kathy's had on him, and then Sir Matt Busby and the inspiration that Jean had on him. And the quote, I think, from Jean is, he was down, he was depressed. And she turned around and like, Matt, the lads want you to carry on. And that obviously
that was it for him.
With him. And the following season he's back.
And you know what? When you read that part as well, when you're reading that story, you hear he travelled back by land and sea as well. Bless him.
Yeah.
Obviously been through the trauma of what had happened. He still said, "I need to get back over land and sea," and he made it back to Manchester and took over the reins again. And unbelievable after that.
He made it back for the cup final as well. Like a part of the story that we've missed out. We actually got to the cup final that year, the FA Cup final, right? Which is a ridiculous achievement. Frankly, ridiculous.
Lost to Bolton, didn't we?
Lost to Bolton 2-0, yeah. So but the achievement is ridiculous. And then one of the greatest achievements as well is the following year we were runners up in the league with next to no team.
Yeah.
Like next to no team being runners up in the league. Like obviously the league that season in 58 was different because obviously we had next to no squad. We were focusing on a cup run where I think we won 1 out of our last however many games and we finished 9th or something like that. So we didn't get our 3 in a row league titles, but like I said, like in the aftermath of it all, the success that went for the next 10 odd years was just absolutely ridiculous for any level of team, never mind a team that had been dismantled at the core. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, and when you arrive at Old Trafford and you see the Trinity statue and you see them all standing there, I mean, that is that next phase of the Babes. After that is exactly what it is. That Trinity right there of those 3 players with Best and Charlton and Law. But I think when you look at, and you don't want to get cliche, but you look at the last minute goals we've had and fighting to the end, and then what Fergie then took on after that. And there was a big gap between what Fergie did and what Sir Matt did. Yeah. Let's not dress that up. It was almost like Fergie had to get back to that, because we'd kind of lost that. But if you're new to this story and you listen, we have supporters, and this is what's so beautiful about this. We have supporters far and wide. There are people watching this channel who couldn't be further away from Manchester. And you know what? That's why the club is as big as it is. And it always has been like that. Yes, if you live locally, you have a different connection. You have different relationships with certain aspects of the football club. If you're young, there could be 8-year-olds watching this who have probably never seen Manchester United win anything significant in their little lives. And there could be 20-year-olds who are not, there's different generations of fans. But what I would encourage you all to do, and this isn't about barking at you and trying to, make you do something. But it's very important, I believe, anyway. Everything's out there. There's YouTube out there. There's short little documentaries. There's long form documentaries. There's wicked books on it. Just have a read, have a watch of some of the stuff on the Munich disaster and subsequently what happened after that. And I promise you, you will feel even more connected to the football club for the right reasons. I promise you, because it's a massive point of our history.
There's a reason why if we do lose or when we're distraught with the football club, there's a reason that we show so much passion, right? And it's because we're so intertwined with the history and the love of the football club. And yeah, I'm lucky enough to be born 3-4 miles away from the football club that I love, that just so happened to be the most successful football club in the world when I was growing up. But that's my story of Manchester United. That's not everyone's. And I have no right to judge other people that literally that have a different story to me. I can't look at the commitment of someone that maybe can't make it to every game, but stays up till 4 a.m. in a different country to watch us every game when we're not necessarily in the best run of form. You were doing interviews till God knows what time the other night and then traveling away. And it's people have different levels of show of how they can show love for the club and how they're involved in the club. So it's different for everyone and everyone's story is different. But like you said, it's very, very important, I think, to understand not only where you come from, but all your experiences in life, to understand where the people you care for come from as well. And the football club's a massive part of my life. So I want to know how that was born. I want to know the main points of the history of the club. And I want to be able to relate that to younger generations and people that don't necessarily understand. I've seen people outside Old Trafford and they see the statue of Sir Matt and they see the statue, the Trinity of Best, Law and Charlton. And I've heard people say, who's that? And I used to kind of look with disgust and I used to be like, I can't believe you don't know that. But then it's actually, no, they don't know. They're new to the football club. Maybe they've got a passion for the football club. I could teach them. They want to learn that. It's such a massive part of our football club. And you've got your Ballon d'Or winners there, 3 of the greatest players to ever play for our football club. And they were all born out of that era. And that era was a fantastic yet tragic time for Manchester United. And that's what we're here to remember today, right?
Absolutely. So I would, like I said, before we kind of wrap up, I would just urge, no matter what age you are, no matter what demographic you are from, don't feel bad if you didn't know any of this stuff. And I'm not saying you would never have heard of Busby Babes, but like James said, there's some people who I do know that the plane crash happened, but I don't know what happened after that. I don't know really exactly what Sir Matt Busby done. It's the first time I've heard of Jimmy Murphy, first time I've heard of Duncan Edwards, these type of figures, which, I'm just saying that everything is out there for you to obtain the knowledge and understand the football club a little bit better. And I think actually at a time where, look, as modern day fans, you look at modern day football, it's fast, it's a quick turnover, there's a ton of money in it. And, with how far we've been away from something that resembles the Busby Babes or anything that resembles Manchester United, both on and off the pitch, this is almost like a timely reminder, isn't it? And I don't want to get into, going into players now and he's not fit to wear the shirt. It's not about that. It's about saying, actually, at a time where even us as fans have been quite down, and I made a video yesterday just saying, what now for the rest of the season, etc., etc. And we all get emotionally involved, and that's what it is now. I understand that. But actually, when you take a step back, there's a story. There's a story at every football club, not just ours, a bigger story. And actually, sometimes I think it's really important to just take a step back and just remember the core principles and values of which your club was built off, and keep that as a chance to say, you know what, like I said there, Harold Hardman said it. He said, we believe that our great days are not done for us. The road back may be long and hard, but Manchester United will rise again. And I don't mean to sound cliche, but those are powerful words, because you have to keep the belief and believe in what the football club was built off.
But that's why I'm never going to give up as a United fan, right? I'm never going to leave a game early. I'm never going to give up because I've been brought up on the fact that we've overcome adversity at literally every single turn. And when I spoke after the Middlesbrough defeat, I was speaking about the disaster and the remembrance today, and you see people speaking to me, Middlesbrough fans were speaking to me after the game and oh, that's really interesting, and other fans and stuff make comments of different clubs. It goes around all football, right? It's not just a Manchester United story, it's a football story. And one thing I would urge people to do, there's a folk song called The Flowers of Manchester.
It's unbelievable.
That,
honestly, when I went out to Munich, when I went out, a lady sang it. I can't remember her name, but she sang it when we was in Munich for the 60th anniversary. Tears in my eye. Honestly,
It's beautiful.
It is unbelievable.
It's absolutely beautiful. And there's another thing. If you ever do get the chance to go out to Munich, Flex mentioned before he was out there for the 60th anniversary, the place is called Manchester Platz. It's in Munich. It's basically the site of where the plane sorry, we've probably skimmed over this, but the plane basically tried to take off 2 times, turned back round because it couldn't. It then tried to take off a 3rd time at 3:04 p.m. It hit a pile of slush and basically skidded off the end of the runway into a fence and then into a house. And that, 60 foot down, and that part where the crash is where this memorial stone is. And it's very, very eerie, like you said.
Really eerie.
But it is absolutely worthwhile visiting if you get the chance. It's a place in history. It's a moment of history. It's a huge piece of the football club. And I very much urge you, if you ever get the chance to visit it, to go and visit it, or to come to one of the memorials that's at Old Trafford. I'll be there later today, or whenever this goes out at 2:40, and there's a memorial service. And I urged the managers and the players to go, right? Because I think it's a huge part of everyone connected with the club, not just the fans, not the players, not the managers, just everyone, that they should know about this day, because it's what makes us what we are as fans and players and lovers of Manchester United.
Absolutely. We can all get caught up in the latest transfer stories, and we need a CDM and this and that and CR7 and Sue and all this stuff. Yes, it's I'm not saying we shouldn't enjoy these things, but at the end of the day, this is what truly matters. And every year we should take the correct time to sit back and reflect on those who lost their lives for this football club, and those who subsequently helped us have our football club as it is now today. You know, even though we're not winning trophies and stuff like that, but the mere fact that Old Trafford still stands when it was rebuilt after the war, after getting bombed, things like that. Yeah. These are things that we sometimes find difficult to connect with because they were so long ago, not in our lifetime. But, we wouldn't be here supporting this club if we didn't understand it, So there you have it. There you have it.
It's huge, man. And final word from me, the final words from the Flowers of Manchester song are 8 men will never play again. They met destruction there. The flowers of English football, the flowers of Manchester. Go and listen to the song. Those players will never get the chance to play again, which is why it means everything that the players nowadays give everything to play for Manchester United, because some people would kill to do it, don't get the chance to, and it means everything to play for that club. So if you do get a chance, tune in today, read up on the story, learn about the history. It's the greatest story ever told. I promise you won't regret it.
Guys, thanks very much for watching. Very, very fitting tribute. Thanks for joining me, James, as well, and sharing your memories and why it's so close to you as well. Drop a comment, guys. Let's share some love in the comments. And if anybody's got any, good places for people to go and watch stuff and go and see some stuff, or recommend any books, please do so in the comments and interact with your fellow Manchester United fans as well around the globe. And I urge you guys to do that too. We will see you later on this evening for a full view show as well. So I will see you then, guys. Take care.